Consequences. Buffy and Faith deal with the consequences of the previous episode.
We open with Buffy underwater trying to swim up, but she's being held by the deputy mayor, Alan, that Faith murdered in the last episode.
And when she gets to the surface, Faith tries to push her back down.
The end. It's just a dream, and when she wakes up, there's a news report about Alan's death.
Which I thought was funny, given how many people die all the time in Sunnydale. And the fact that they found his body right away. I guess Faith really did do a great job of hiding the evidence.
The next day, Wesley directs Buffy and Faith to look into Alan's murder, and Faith says they'll be happy to.
And apparently Wesley doesn't think the library is a weird place to meet either.
Cordelia comes in, and Wesley is immediately smitten and makes the mistake of thinking she's a teacher, because none of these actors look like they're in high school.
He's very awkward, and when the others point out that she is a student, he gets even more awkward. When they leave, Faith asks Buffy if she's going to rat her out.
And brings up that Buffy covers for Angel all the time.
Buffy says things will get worse if they don't tell the truth, but Faith says that Buffy is as guilty as she is, which is not really true because she didn't stab someone to death.
She says since she was right there, she's technically an accomplice. Buffy goes to talk to Willow, who says she's meeting with Michael to try and de-rat Amy, which was awesome, because that's always my first question in these episodes. Where is Amy? And my question was, what is Amy doing during all of this? Amy could really help them out right now. Since they're dealing with all this magic, why don't they talk to Amy? Are they going to bring Amy into this situation? Because she could really help them. And I was wondering, how long has it been since they fed Amy? And where is my favorite character, Amy, the rat?
And Willow is still jealous that Buffy was hanging out with Faith instead of with her, which was pretty dumb. The police investigate the scene of the deputy mayor's death, and somehow don't notice Angel creepily watching, as he remembers seeing Buffy in the area at the time with blood on her hands, which I thought was going to make him kind of go after her or something, but that never happens. And there's a woman saying she heard a scream, but there was a whole fight going on.
Couldn't she hear the StarCraft sound effects of vampires being turned into dust? Mayor Elbrin is upset that Alan left such a big paper trail with his death.
And Mr. Trick tells him that wooden splinters were found in his wound, implicating a slayer.
Buffy and Faith are checking out Alan's office, and Faith is over-the-top internally conflicted with her multiple out-loud statements. What good writing.
Buffy says she thinks Alan was in the alley looking for them, but why would he think they'd be there?
As they start to leave, they see Mayor Elbrin talking with Mr. Trick.
In a suspicious manner. Outside, Buffy talks to Faith about how she's hiding her true feelings about what happened, and Faith is a flippant bitch about it.
She again straight up describes her character type out loud.
Less than 24 hours ago, you killed a man. And now it's all zippity-doo-dah? It's not your real face, and I know it.
Like, you're just hiding everything, behind this facade that's not fooling anybody or some shit like that.
Yeah. She says they're better than everyone else because they're slayers and the world owes them.
And they can pretty much do whatever they want.
When Buffy gets home, the same shitty cop from all the previous episodes is waiting to question her.
He also questions Faith, but neither of them reveal anything.
And we see that Angel is still snooping around, like a weirdo.
And again, he doesn't notice him creepily watching in this long coat, standing visibly close to his car.
Buffy visits Willow, who lets out all her feelings about Buffy and Faith, and how she's sorry that she can't kill things with her bare hands, which causes Buffy to break down. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah. Buffy lets Willow know about the murder.
And Willow says she should talk to Giles.
When she goes to talk to Giles, it turns out Faith is already there, and has already told him about Alan, but said that Buffy murdered him.
When Faith leaves, Giles reveals that he could tell she was lying, because he already read the script. And he tells Buffy that accidents with slayers happen all the time, so it's not a big deal, and she should just forget about it and go back to bed.
He says typically the council will investigate and issue punishment if it's warranted, but this time he's not going to let them know. And I said, yeah, because you're not her watcher. You were fired.
He says they need to get Faith to admit what happened before they can help her.
And that she is unstable.
And it turns out someone is eavesdropping, and I thought it was going to be Faith, because why would she just let Buffy talk to Giles on her own? But then I remembered that she's an idiot, and it turns out Wesley is the one listening in.
And he ends up calling the council.
Giles and the gang discuss Faith, and Xander lets slip that he and Faith banged.
He uses this as evidence that he could talk to her because he feels they have a connection, and Buffy lets him know Faith treats guys she sleeps with as a joke.
And Willow is upset by the revelation. Basically, everyone was upset. This is an episode of Buffy.
Giles says they should think of a plan for Mayor Elbrin and Mr. Trick, but Buffy says Faith needs their help now.
She says she owes it to Faith to help her, which made no sense, especially after she just tried to blame Buffy for everything.
And we cut to Willow sobbing in the bathroom because of Xander's close encounter with Faith, but I thought that she and Oz were on the mend, and my next note is just, Ugh.
And Xander goes off to sulk, while Faith pretends everything is okay, and all the while, cheesy 90s music plays.
Xander goes on his own to talk to Faith, and says she needs someone on her side.
She tries to twist things by turning it sexual and throws him down on the bed, and she says she could do anything to him and he couldn't stop her, and starts strangling him. All of a sudden, this was becoming a good episode.
And it gets even better when Angel makes the startling, albeit temporary transformation from being one of my least favorite characters to a pretty cool guy when he smashes Faith in the face with a baseball bat.
How did he get into her apartment, though?
He was probably dephased with the Romulan cloaking device.
He chains Faith up and tries to talk to her, but she is uncooperative.
Outside, he talks to Buffy. She tells him that he needs to keep trying to get through to her because she needs help, and they owe it to her.
But Angel says she might be beyond help. And I wondered why Buffy never brought up the events of Ted, and how she thought she had killed an innocent man for a while. Mayor Elbrun and Mr. Trick review the security camera footage of the Slayers entering the building. And Mr. Trick says there was supposed to be a guard, so why wasn't there one?
And the mayor tells Mr. Trick that he needs to come up with something to handle the Slayers.
Angel talks to Faith about knowing what it's like to commit murder, and he tells her she can rely on them and trust them to help her.
And if she continues to go down the path she's on, it will ruin her. And I couldn't tell if she was more upset about his language hitting a nerve, or if she was just so bored at not being able to go away and having to listen to him for so long.
And I thought he showed more personality in this one scene than all the previous non-Angela scenes combined. But it still wasn't that much.
Well, when he was swinging that bat into her face, I thought he showed a lot of personality.
Suddenly, Wesley busts in with a bunch of other guys with crosses, and they beat up Angel and take Faith to be dealt with by the Watchers Council.
I thought it was interesting they chose not to stake Angel the vampire, despite being the group that trains people to slay vampires. Even if Wesley knows about the past, he has shown that he doesn't rely only on emotional context to make decisions.
And he didn't know who Angel was last episode, so how does he know now? Or is it because he's been spying? I don't know. Questions.
They bind Faith's arms, but stupidly not her legs, which allows her to easily break out of the van that they're transporting her in.
And somehow the driver doesn't notice what's going on and just keeps driving.
Probably listening to some Sinatra.
Buffy finds Angel and they all meet with Giles. She suggests getting to the airport before Wesley and stopping them from taking Faith, and Willow asks why they should do that, which made sense.
Buffy also says Angel was getting through to Faith, but
there was no indication of that. She wasn't even talking at the point that they were interrupted.
It just seems like that's what Buffy wanted to happen, so she says that's what actually happened. And Willow says for everything she's done and how unstable she is, maybe Faith belongs behind bars.
And I would take out the maybe. Wesley comes in to tell them that she escaped, and they all go out looking for her.
Buffy finds Faith at the docks, and they continue the argument from earlier about Buffy wanting to start living Faith's lifestyle. And because the show still hasn't figured out a good way to end a conversation, they both get attacked by a group of vampires.
Buffy notices some boxes held by a crane about to fall, and knocks Faith out of the way and gets hit herself. How did they know that Buffy and Faith were going to walk under those boxes?
Good question. They both fight vampires separately, and Buffy is about to be bitten by Mr. Trick.
And Faith hesitates to save her, but finally does.
What a bummer. For multiple reasons. I wish Mr. Trick had kind of stuck around, and I also wish, Buffy had died.
Yeah, and that Faith had left. They made every wrong decision they could have made in the writing of this episode. Buffy reports to Giles and tells him that Faith came back with her and that she won't give up on her, unfortunately.
My next note is sigh. And Faith shows up at Mayor Elbrun's office, telling him he has a job opening now that Mr. Trick is dead.
And he lets her in for some reason. Consequences. Overall,
I'm glad there's an episode called Consequences, and it starts to explore real-world consequences to Buffy's actions, but as the episode went on, it turned into an episode about Faith. I am wondering if they're going to come back to Ellen's murder, because Buffy seemed to forget about how awful she felt about it as this episode went on. It is possible in real life to be concerned about more than one thing at the same time. I'm not surprised that Faith is the way she is, and I'm not sure why the other characters are surprised. They don't include her in stuff. They don't know what she does. They don't really know who she is. But at least this episode allows her character to be explored a little bit more, because while they don't bring it up, she is around during all the other episodes. They're pretty clueless about how easy it will be to connect to Faith if we can just talk to her. Even after they all separately try to talk to her and it doesn't work, they still argue that they can easily connect to her if they can just talk to her. And Wesley, while still being made out as the bad guy, is really the only one who isn't reacting straight off of emotion. While the others don't always agree with his actions, that alone doesn't mean that he's always wrong. But because the other characters don't like it, we're expected to look at it as him being wrong. It's kind of a bummer that Mr. Trick is gone. He went from seeming like he could be an actual threat to the mayor's lackey to now just being dead. And since he didn't go away after the episode he was introduced in, I thought he was going to become something. I know I asked in the past for Cordelia character development, but being Wesley's creepy obsession was not really what I meant. Despite this episode being called Consequences, there weren't really too many consequences. It was more set up to consequences going to happen. And Faith going to Mayor Elbrin at the end seemed to be done to create more plot points later. I don't really understand why she did it. She spent the whole episode telling Buffy that she wants to do whatever she wants without someone telling her what to do. But now I foresee the mayor telling her what to do and her doing it. Just because it's bad stuff, she can do that on her own. She doesn't need someone to tell her to do bad stuff. She wants to do bad stuff. Go do bad stuff. Maybe she just wants to be a civil servant. I don't know. Maybe that's a subplot we haven't gotten yet. There have been worse ones, and I guess at least it pushed some characters forward development-wise, even if there wasn't a lot of reason for decisions. I'm going to give it a C.
I gave it a C+. This was an unusually serious episode, and I'm glad they didn't try to shove in a bunch of dumb jokes in places where they didn't fit, like they did with Helpless. Pretty much the entire episode focused on Faith, and I thought they did make her more interesting than usual, but I still don't find her that interesting, and it started getting tedious for me as it went on. I liked that Wesley got the Watchers Council involved, even if they were really stupid and unprofessional about how they handled things, which isn't really a surprise based on what we've seen. The ending, with Faith going to the mayor, like you said, made no sense. I get that she's insecure and an idiot, but she doesn't even know what he's doing. She doesn't know what he's involved with. She's going with him just because it's, something that Buffy wouldn't approve of. And I know that that's the reason why she did it, but it's still just too stupid. It's too stupid. And it seems like she might be patching things up with Buffy at the end. So unless she's going to be there as an inside agent, it doesn't make sense. But from Mayor Elbrin's perspective, it doesn't make sense either. Why is he going to bring in a Slayer? Why is he going to even allow her in his office? I know that he can't die now, but it doesn't make any sense. Willow being upset about Xander was pretty dumb at this point, and I hope they never bring that up again. But it is true that Angel was actually helpful in this episode. Even though his creepiness didn't really pay off the way I thought it would. He never seemed to suspect Buffy other than at the very beginning. So it felt like maybe they were writing a subplot that they kind of forgot about and then said, you know what, maybe he just hits Faith in the face. So I guess, I don't know, there were some good things about this episode. So it's clear that more is going to come out of everything that happened here, but I can't honestly say that I'm that interested to see what happens with this.